Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the PTFC Podcast. Happy Boxing Day. Hope you've all had a great Christmas. And I think we've just had a bit of a late Christmas present because about an hour ago the final whistle went at Bellevue. And we've only gone and beat Rill away 3-0. Unbelievable. I was in the away end. Best away support in the league, hands down, probably in the top 2 leagues. And it was madness, absolute madness. So we've got quite a full podcast for you today. We've got lots to cram in. Obviously, I'm going to review today's game in depth. We've got Gibbo's interview for you. I'm going to play that. Usual injury suspension updates. I also had a chat to the co-director of the academy, Stuart Howell. So he's I'm just going to play a little interview I did with him about the academy and what Gibbo's return means for Prestatyn going forward. Today's feature, we're actually going to have a look at some former players, so players that were with us at the start of the season and have now moved on for one reason or another. A lot of them were key to us early in the season, so I think it's important to kind of give them a bit of props and just have a bit of a discussion around that. And we'll finish off with a brief look ahead to Porhmadog, who are playing at home on Saturday. So, first things first, here is Neil Gibson's interview from about an hour ago. Rill 0, Prestatyn Town 3. Speaking to Gibbo, that is a famous result for Prestatyn Town. Explain that one to me.
Well, yeah, it's difficult now in the emotion of the moment after the game, because obviously we came into this and make no mistakes about it. Rill are an excellent team. They've won 9 in 9. There was lots of talk before the game that them being in the position they are in the league and us being in the position we are in the league, that it'd be a formality for Rill, but our players were very, very confident that we could cause real problems today. We had a game plan that we've worked on for the last 10 days. We've done our due diligence and watched Rill on 3 occasions. We felt we had areas where we could cause real problems as long as we nullified their problems. And I must say, the way that the lads have gone about it in the last 10 days, the way they've approached it, their application towards the game plan and the job in hand has been absolutely fantastic, and I can't give them enough credit for what they've done today. I think this wasn't a game where one person has won as a game. This was an absolute collective effort from everybody, from the backroom staff, with obviously me implementing the game plan all week, and then being watching it from the stand. The backroom staff have stepped up and given good information from the side, and the players have really, really carried it out on the pitch, and I couldn't be more pleased for the group.
Yeah. Rill seemed to struggle with the pressure that we had on them. A lot of running all over the pitch, nobody stopping. Is that part of the game plan that you talked about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we think we've got good players who are capable of causing other teams problems, but the bare minimum is that you work as hard as you possibly can, and we press the ball in certain areas of the pitch where we thought we could cause Rill some problems, and we looked that we would try and play in other areas where we knew that we'd identified what might cause some problems. It happened today. Sometimes it does, and sometimes your game plan doesn't go to plan, but today was one of the ones where it did. I think the whole atmosphere, the players were so up for this game, and they've been champing at the bit to play for the last sort of 4, 5, 6 days. They've all looked after themselves over the Christmas period, and I think, in fairness, the way that special mention for the fans today. The fans were absolutely magnificent, and coming to an away game, it felt like a home game. If we're honest, and we've got a great group of young supporters coming through now, the P-Town Massive, as they call themselves. So they're fantastic, but the hardcore, the old core that we've been around for such a long time, sort of embracing them together now, and what support to play in front of, and that's what makes this football club very special.
Yeah. More goals for Griff, more goals for Alex. Danny Davis, phenomenal down the right side, I thought. But another clean sheet again. So the defensive work you're putting in is paying off.
Yeah, the goals, are the end product and the finishing touch of what the team are trying to create. So there's Griffo and Alex, and Ben and Ollie and Maka and other people are in the team to score those goals and for us. But the way that we try and play, we try and create opportunities for them to score, so it's a whole team effort. Likewise at the back, when we're defending in the manner we are, I thought we were excellent today. we forget sometimes Dan Roberts is 18 years of age, you know, and I've been very impressed with him since he's come in. Like all young players, they are strong at some points and they'll have a little dip, and it's how he's responded to that dip. He had 1 or 2 games where he wasn't at the standards he set, and we challenged him, and again today I thought he was phenomenal in a game of this importance. So the back line were really strong. Woodsy's done well in goal again, but it's where we defend from. We defend from the front, we press all over the pitch, and that then allows the defenders to have an easier time of things.
Perfect, nice one.
Cheers. Great.
So there you go, Gibbo quite rightly proud of his boys there. Just before I start to talk about the game, I'm just going to go through the injury and suspension updates for you. So Aaron White went off quite early in the second half of that game with a head injury. That's the only reason he came off. Martin Jones actually told me that there's no way they would have taken him off, and I agree with that. You know, his work rate in the middle is phenomenal next to Was Adam. It's really important to the way we play. I think that we have 2 lads in there sitting in front of the back 4, just buzzing around, being terriers. I think it's really important. So Aaron White, he should be okay for Porhmadog. It's just probably an impact thing that's not going to keep him out for a long period or anything. So I hope he starts to feel better. I also had a quick chat with Ross Weaver, who obviously on his return to the side went off with an injury at half time. So that's his hamstring. So he's actually getting treatment in January, some point in January, to kind of sort that injury for the long term. So best of luck to Ross with his recovery as well. So Gibbo just touched on there the second half performance. Now, obviously I'm not going to go against what Gibbo says, but I thought we were phenomenal for the whole game. I thought coming off at the end of the first half, we were the better side. I fancied us coming out for the second half. Obviously all 3 goals came after the break with Alex, Danny Davis and Griff. 3 great goals. But you know, we deserved it for the whole thing. I don't, you know, touching on Rill's threat going forward, no disrespect to them, but I don't really have much to talk about. I remember Ryan Woods making a good save down at his near post, off a shot from the right side on the one occasion that Alec Williams got beat. And that's it. That's all I really remember Ryan Woods having to do. Their other kind of chances came from crosses, and we played quite narrow, you know, because the fullbacks were bombing forward. But all they had were crosses coming in. Now, I don't know if it was a bad day at the office for Rill or if Gibbo's game plan just worked to perfection, but we worked harder, we ran more, we were threading more passes. Yeah, maybe Rill had more possession in the first half, but we didn't allow them to do much with it. And in truth, we should have been ahead. You know, who was it? I think Griff had a left-footed shot that if he'd caught it right, could have caused Dundee a couple of problems. We had a good header for Dan Roberts off a corner, and Griff was actually brought down right at the end of the first half in the box. And I even heard a couple of Rill fans saying, you know, that should have been a penalty. And from where I was stood, it should have been. But we weren't getting decisions in the first half. Thankfully, that didn't have any bearing on the game, and we went on to win 3-0. Convincingly, if we're being honest with ourselves, that was a convincing win. You know, Rill have won 9 games on the bounce, and we just stopped it, considering where we are in the league and where they are in the record they've been on. You know, that cannot be understated. I think Gibbo, like he said in his interview then, he came up with a game plan. The players completely bought into it because of the respect they have for him. They've worked hard. You know, they've sacrificed. You know, having a proper Christmas day to prepare for this game properly, and it's paid off. Better side from start to finish. And how confident did we look as well? You know, in defensively, you know, Dave Hayes being back, with James Jones and Dan Roberts either side of him. We were comfortable. We were dealing with the aerial threat. We were organised. We were the first to most second balls. And yeah, like the P-Town Massive lads that came on the second episode of the podcast, they said that form would go out the window for this game. And it did. It didn't matter. You know, we'd won 2 on the bounce before today. They'd won 9. It wouldn't have mattered at all. It was about who wanted it more. It was about who had the quality. And it was us all day long. Now, the goals. Okay, so first goal was Alex Jones in the 56th minute. So some good work at play by Ben Maher and Griffo. I think both of those guys had a shot. They were either blocked or saved, and then it eventually just fell to Alex. And rather than swiping at the ball, he kind of took a touch and then just slotted it away in the empty part of the net with his. I'm sure it was with his left foot as well. And the place went mad, absolutely erupted. But we didn't have much time to kind of think on that because 6 minutes later, Danny Davis, who for me was man of the match, he was beating his man down the right side every single time. You have to forgive me, but I can't remember the real left back or who was playing wing back for real. But he was getting done by Danny every single time. And Danny ended up being in behind. He had a shot. Dunty saved the initial shot, and then he couldn't do anything about the follow-up effort. And I think it went underneath him. Might have got a touch, but it went underneath him. So that was 2-0. And then 10 minutes later, Griff makes it 3. So I have to apologise to Danny Davis, actually. I actually put that Ben Maher squared the ball, but it was Danny Davis again. So Danny Davis got down that right side once again, squared it, and it was just easy for Griff. There's no way he's missing from where he was, near the penalty spot. No, not a chance is Griff missing from there. And it went absolutely mad again, 3-0. With 20 odd minutes left to play as well. So yeah, what a game. Now, moving on to the next thing I want to talk about. So I actually spoke to Stuart Howell after the game, who most town fans will know him. He's the co-director of the academy. Obviously, we have a youth setup that goes right down through the age groups. And I had a brief chat to Stuart about that and about his thoughts on the game. So I'll just play that interview for you now. This is Stuart Howell. Right, so I'm here with Stuart Howell, Assistant Academy Director for Prestatyn Town. First off, Stu, give us your thoughts on that game.
Just super impressive the way we played. We started the game upbeat and we wanted to go for it, and they just carried that through the first half and then obviously into the second half.
You've just been saying to me about the effect that this resurgence has had on the academy and how that's going to take Town going forward. Just explain that a little bit for me.
Well, we work with about 140 kids at the moment from the academy point of view, so all the way up from 8 up until the under-19s, and to see the resurgence of Prestatyn Town now going forward with Neil Gibson in charge is just so impressive, the way he thinks about the game and the way we work as a team within the academy to drive that forward. So the way he believes as a manager in the academy driving forward is just the passion that gives us.
And the way Gibbo talks, it's not about the 11, it's not about the 16, it's not even about the squad as a whole, it's about the club, about the academy, and clearly wants to include everyone related to Town right through to the academy in what's going on. You've seen players come up like Macaulay Taylor, Nathaniel Hume, Aaron White playing really well today. So the future looks bright.
The future looks really bright at the moment. We've got some young kids coming through. The talent they're showing is everything that Gibbo believes in. But we're starting really low down at the under-8s, the under-9s, and we're trying to teach them the game and the way the process works and the way the manager is so key. So with our coaches at the moment, we're going through the C certificate and the B certificate with all our coaches, trying to drive them forward, but also it brings the kids along as well. Yeah. And they're understanding the belief that's behind Prestatyn Town as a club.
Yeah. It must be good for young players to know that, if they perform and they follow the the instructions that are given to them, that they will get a chance. We're seeing that now. And is that something that you're trying to instill?
I think it's essential for this club to drive forward. You know, we're the only club, I believe, and that's from an academy point of view, that really does look at the talent around North Wales. We put it into our session plans and our driving forward, and Neil is instrumental in that. He makes sure that he understands how the academy works and how that's going to profit the first team going forward. You can go and buy players from wherever you like, but if it's instilled in you right at the beginning at 8-9 years old, then when you become to the first team, then Neil understands and the player understands how that works from a training point of view, a nutrition point of view, and a playing point of view.
Cheers, Stu. So that was Stuart Howell there talking about the academy, which is obviously a huge part of Prestatyn Town, something that Gibbo and the fans are incredibly proud of, and myself as well. You know, I love that we have youngsters that have come through the academy that are playing regular first team football. Massive assets to the team. You know, Aaron White today did the job that he was asked to do. Next to Warren Adam, you know, is the guy that organises everything. You know, he's shouting the whole game. Az has got the work rate as well next to him. And then when Az went off, you had James Hay come on. And I think the game suited Jimbo once he come on, because we scored 3 minutes later after he took to the pitch. And it kind of suited him then, because Rilla chasing the game, their legs are starting to go. And that suits Jimbo, you know, because he can just control it from the middle then. He was spraying passes. He's obviously he's got a good sliding tackle on him. He was cutting things up, and I thought we looked. It just suited him when we came on. And the other substitutes were let's see, they were quite late. So you had Griff came off for Ollie Buckley in the 82nd minute. Obviously, great to have Ollie Buckley back as an attacking option, and then Casey Faulkner replaced Alec Williams for the last 5 minutes or so. And Casey got stuck in straight away. You know, he made a crunching tackle that got the fans going. Not that they needed that. And yeah, I'm just buzzing. I'm still buzzing. It's only been an hour or so since the final whistle. So part of the podcast that we're moving on to now is a bit of a discussion about former players. So, like I said earlier, we've had a lot of players that have come and gone. You know, during this kind of rebuilding process. Leon Field brought a lot of players in, along with Ryan Turner. You know, some of them have worked out really, really well. You know, Chris Bennett, Alex Jonesy and Griffiths, absolutely inspired signings, key parts of the squad now. You know, even Jimbo that we were just on about a second ago, coming from Kimmel Bay, making the step up, and you know, he can fill in at the defence, he can fill in midfield, and I don't think Jimbo's had a bad game. You know, he does his job every time he comes on. So, former players. The first one we're going to look at is Elias Jones. So Elias is a goalkeeper, obviously. He was the starting goalkeeper for much of pre-season, battling it out with Ryan Woods there. You know, we've also had other keepers. We've had Christian Wright, Scott Williams, Ryan Roberts. But Elias, I remember speaking to one of the linesmen one day, and he said that he thought Elias had the most potential of any goalkeeper he'd seen at this level. And I hope Elias, you know, does listen to this or hears about this, because he's very highly thought of at the club. Bit of controversy surrounding his exit, but you know, that's in the past now, isn't it? I think he's been at Kimmel Bay since, and he's done well there. So it'd be good to see Elias continue his development, and I'd like to have Elias back. I would. Nidian Jones is another one. He made left back his own in pre-season. Great player. And then he got a bad injury away at Llandudno. And not only did that cut short his season, but it's, you know, I think it might be something that affects him long term. It's a back injury, and you know, I'm gutted for him. Nidian's a great guy, great fullback, played really well for us, and it's just a shame the way that worked out. Kieran Jones is another, who is the cousin of Elias and Nidian. Kieran's a great lad. I think he's at Llansannan now. He's played in midfield for us and done well. He had a run at centre-back when we were struggling for players there, and he didn't put a foot wrong. He played in goal for us a couple of times when we needed him to, when we've had injuries and no keepers on the bench. I think Kieran, no offence to Llansannan, but I think Kieran is a Cymru Alliance player, and that's where he should be. But I totally understand his decision to leave, and I respect that. Jack Holt is another one. How good was he in pre-season? Full of goals. His head dropped a little bit, maybe, as the season wore on and Griff started to score goals. Jack Holt was dropped into the number 10. I don't think he saw himself there. I think he thinks, he'd have liked to play as the striker, which is fair enough. Had some, I think the game I remember with Jack Holt was Denby away. It must have been in the cup, actually, which we ended up winning with Alex Jones, but he had so many chances and it just wouldn't go in for him. And, strikers have those days sometimes. Jack Holt is a player I really admire. I really, really do. His closing down and everything, I think that set the tone early in the season. And again, I have no disrespect to Abergele where he is now, but Jack Holt should be playing higher than that. Ben Holt, his brother, is another one. First game of pre-season, he was playing on the right wing, got an injury, and I think to this day Ben Holt is still out, so I do hope he comes back stronger, whether it's with Prestatyn or with another club. Now the next one is Kieran Ellis. I think up until recently, we'd been playing a brand of football that really would have suited Kieran Ellis. Big target man, he can hold the ball up really well, powerful. And I think we missed him when we were still playing, that sort of system. Obviously, Griff and Ben Marr now, with Alex behind him. Kieran would maybe find it hard to come across opportunities, so I understand his reason for going back to Kimmel Bay. He's a star at Kimmel Bay. Scores goals for fun there. Believe he's got a little bit of an injury at the moment. I did see him the other night. So I hope that gets sorted for him. Dave Collins is another one. Pip. He's gone to sports now, but he was very vocal in his early days here, earlier in the season. Good midfielder, nice and tidy. Believe he's doing well at sports as well now, along with Ben Corley, who is another one. Now Ben, I actually feel sorry for Ben. He doesn't need me to feel sorry for him, but just the fact that at some points he was playing left wing back, and I don't think you can expect a player like Ben to play left wing back and be able to show you everything that he can do. He's got an absolute beast of a left foot on him. One of the best left-footed strikers I've ever seen at this level. And Ben is at sports as well now, scoring goals. Great lad, and he did a lot for us in his time here. Ryan Hassett as well. I believe he's at Kimmel Bay. I might be wrong on that. I believe Ryan Hassett's gone to Kimmel Bay. Tenacious midfielder, very much in the same mould as it was Adam. It just didn't work out. He didn't get the opportunities. We had a lot of players early in the season fighting for spots. And Hassett is the kind of midfielder that I like. Now the last one is an interesting one. It's Will Ashley. So Will Ashley is actually out of the game at the moment. I think he trained with Ruthin and Gresford after he left us. And the reason he left us was something along the lines of he didn't feel comfortable in the system that we moved to, which was a back three with wing backs. Because before we switched to that system, him and Sam Kirsch actually formed an incredible partnership. They understood each other. They were a brick wall. Absolutely nothing got past them, particularly in the air. And it was a shame that Will Ashley left the club in the way that he did. And I do hope he gets back into the game, because he's a hell of a defender, a leader as well. I thought Will Ashley was captain material at one point, so I hope it works out for him. So just before we finish today's podcast, because I want to go out and celebrate, so we're just going to have a quick look ahead to Porhmadog, who are playing at home on Saturday at 2:30. Now, we played them in August and we lost 2-0. But, that game we were absolutely miles off the pace. Porhmadog are an incredibly well-drilled side from what I've seen. They know exactly what they're doing. And we were a different team then. It was one of them games where we just couldn't get anything going in the attacking sense at all. And then Griff John Williams and Joe Chaplin got a couple of goals. And if we're being honest with ourselves, they probably should have won by more than that. I remember Sam Kirsch being absolutely devastated after that game. The general consensus was that we can defend and defend and defend, but at some point we need to score some goals, and goals were hard to come across at that time. Obviously not now. We're scoring goals for fun. We're keeping clean sheets. So I think Porhmadog coming to us, especially with the wave of positivity that we're riding at the moment, they're going to see a completely different town side, and hopefully we can get another 3 points and make it 4 on the bounce in the league. Moving up the table, I'm moving towards the goal of promotion next season. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, Porhmadog are second in the table at the moment. They've only conceded 12 goals all season. But if anyone can breach that defence, it's the likes of Ben Marr, Ian Griffiths, Alex Jones. Griff and Alex have scored in. At least one of them has scored in the last God knows how many games. They have won their last 5. They're unbeaten in the last 8. And the last time they lost a game was at Airbus. Which, you can't really blame anyone getting beat at Airbus. They're storming the league this season. I think Flint got a result against them, but other than that, they've won every single game. So we need to be wary of Porhmadog coming to us. But I do fancy us at home. With the momentum that we've got, the attacking football that we're playing, Dave Hayes being back, I fancy us. I do. Everyone is saying at the moment that the league table is not an accurate reflection at all, but we're changing that slowly, aren't we? We're moving up. So I think I'll leave today's podcast there. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Boxing Day if you're listening tonight. If you're listening at any other time, Saturday is the next game. We're at home to Porhmadog, and I'll see you there. Thanks for listening.